Well, hello everyone. This is a Portal members exclusive, and I'm going to be reading to you from the Black Rose translations with my current commentary. Now, this is a series, so I'm not going to read the whole book in one big gulp, so you'll be able to listen to it at little pieces at a time. And I won't wear my voice out either. So that's what we're going to do. However, I wanted to talk a little bit about it first. Now, I wrote this in 1989. And gosh, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Whew, seems like a long time to me anyway. So I'm going to talk to you about what unicorns are in regard to that from the perspective of the Thothic Akasha. They are energy beings of a really high order, angelic-like. Thoth refers to them as nature angels. In other words, they're high devas, but apparently beyond what you categorize as high devas, even beyond that is this zone where the angelic realm touches the nature realm. And that there you have the angelic nature beings. And they come in other types, but the unicorns are really probably the highest of all of those. Now, in that level, they can appear, as you're seeing this picture here, more or less, not little stars in their hair and everything, but more or less like a horse with a horn. But they also are energy beings. But think of it this way: we're energy beings. So what we look like in the physical realm, and as we age and all the things that go on with our bodies and whatever, we get fat, we get thin, we get too fat, we get too thin. And all of these things that happen to us, and we look in the mirror and we go, oh my God. That's just an outer part of our expression, of our being, even in the physical. Even in the physical, we tend to think, well, yeah, it's the physical body. When we leave the physical body, we have a spiritual body, and that spiritual body is full of light. That's true. However, from Thoth's perspective, there's no such thing as spiritual and physical, like a big separation, two completely different arenas. It's all one. It's just gradients of one. Gradients that are more compressed and become what we call physical, and gradients that are less compressed and are what we call totally spiritual, out of the body. There's really not that much difference. Oh, there's plenty of difference. I shouldn't say that. But I mean the zone, there's not a different, completely different section that says this is spiritual and this is physical. It's all spiritual. So when we die and leave the body behind, what we're doing is we're literally peeling off the outer layer, and we're leaving that behind like snakeskin, because the energy system is still alive and functioning, and it's moving into a higher frequency zone. But right here in the flesh, you and me, standing in a room or out in the woods or wherever, if we had eyes to see, if we could look at the vibrational frequency of what we really are emanating, not just the snake skin, so to speak, but the true body, we would see a light being. We would see a head, arms, shoulders, legs, there would be a body. And it would be approximately the height that we are, approximately the type of frame that we are. But if we were really obese in our snake skin, we would not look really obese in the body, because the light body, that is part of the physical experience, I'm talking about that light body, light energy body, let's call it, is the exact weight we need to be, the exact everything we need to be. It's like balanced. Now, if we get too thin, like anorexic or something, and we get too fat, well, we're not in balance, are we? So the snake skin is going to be looking that way, but not the energy systemic body. The energy systemic body, that's what I'm receiving now to call it, is just the right weight, just the right everything. Now, it's going to adapt to the height. In other words, if we were born really short like me, it's going to be short. If we're going to be really tall, it's going to be tall. There's going to be a similarity in that sense, because that's what we're born with in our genetics, and it's operating through the genetic code of that incarnation. So, you know, if you could, the light, the energy body, if it can, when it forms an actual presence, so you could see the eyes, the skin texture, the nose, the mouth, and all of that, because it can go into a form that's even beyond that. It's still an image of the body. It has the silhouette of the body and the arms and everything, but it would be really, really radiating light. However, it can come down into a frequency where you can see the color of the eyes, the tone of the skin, the hair, and that sort of thing. Now, so if you could see that, it would look like you. If you had big ears and a long nose, I'm sorry, you're going to have big ears and a long nose. That's the body that you were born with genetically. But you're not going to have wrinkles. You're not going to have obesity or you know, look sickly, and your hair would be the color that the genetic code gave you, not gray hair or dyed hair, of course, and your skin would not be tanned from the sun. It would be it would be not pale, but it would be blood colored, you know, like pink cheeks and everything, but you would not have a tan on you, because anything that's placed on the body as a result of the environment, or gravity like aging, or obesity like eating too much, or whatever like that, that would not be present, because that's only affecting the skin. I'm calling the skin the snake skin, let's call it, you know, the outer part. So I needed to kind of explain that to you, because when we're talking about unicorns now, the unicorn in its light body form would resemble a horse with a horn, but it would be, the difference is, because it's an angelic, a nature angelic being, it can also reform into its highest version. And the highest version, remember I talked about the human energy systemic light body, the highest version of that, you don't see the eyes, the features, the skin, the hair, you just see a silhouette with light, okay? So the highest version of the unicorn is not a silhouette of a horse with light. The highest version of a unicorn is simply a sphere of light, a sphere of pure, pure light. Now, when we pass from this mortal coil, we can become, you know, we become a sphere of light too, when we're not in an incarnated form, but we can bring ourselves into a shape and be a shape as well. The unicorn is not in the realm of matter that we're in. It's not that dense. So it can be anything it wants to, anytime it wants to. We are limited in our incarnational form, as long as we're alive in the incarnation, as not being able to just become a sphere. We have our body, that's the shape, as I explained, and all of that. But let's go back to the unicorn and say that they are not limited with that, because the realm that they live on is more like the new earth. In fact, there are a lot of unicorns in the new earth, and there are a lot of unicorns in the blue star. And, you know, they're all over the place, but they're just not this far into density on the earth at this time. There was a time on the surface earth when unicorns did present themselves infrequently, but could physically manifest, and not just for a twinkling of an eye. People could touch them, they could be with them. In the inner earth, there are unicorns too, because the inner earth is slightly removed dimensionally from this world, just enough to allow the unicorns to be present. They aren't just all over the place, but they are there. So let me see if there's anything else I want to present to you in this introduction before we get into the nitty-gritty of the book and follow along with that. Oh yes, there is a lot more actually. There is this black rose, white rose thing. I need to get into all of that. The black rose unicorn that Thoth is talking about here, that becomes a white rose unicorn, we'll get to that in a moment, is an aspect of the Christic universal Christ entering through the angelic Davic portal to manifest an aspect of that Christic self in a high angelic unicorn body. And there's a purpose for that. And we'll get into that in the book. Now, when I wrote this book, the black unicorn had not yet become white. Okay. But this is a really important part of it. So I'm going to state it here, and I'll bring it up again probably at the end of the book. Thoth requested that I have an altar dedicated to the black rose, and it was a big altar. It was the main altar. I just dedicated the whole thing to the black rose. Well, I was hoping to find the altar when it was the black rose, and here I have it only as the white rose. So we have the white unicorn, and there's the other two represent other unicorns that are a part of this holy family, you might say. But let me tell you what happened. This altar, as you see it, only there was a black unicorn there instead of white, and the other two weren't present at the time. And this was the altar that was basically dedicated to the black rose unicorn, although, you know, I had other things on it, and other things were going on in regard to them. So one day I was standing there at the altar. I was not touching it. And I can't remember how it happened. It was so long ago, but I know that it was startling. I didn't bump the altar. There were no pets to jump on the altar. The black rose statue fell, or was thrown off the altar, and crashed to the ground in a zillion pieces, to the ground, to the floor. I was startled. Now, I don't remember exactly how this happened, but I know that it was a dramatic thing. It wasn't like, oops, I tipped it over. And of course, I immediately went to Thoth. And I was told that the black rose was turning into the white rose. And there was a reason for this. It's not just a matter of the color of the skin of the unicorn. There's an energy thing. All that we're speaking about here has to do with energy. And the energy transformation was taking place to allow the veil of the hidden realm to open up, so that the energy of this sacred being came forward into the light. It was no longer in its hidden, veiled role, like Isis. Isis is the black Isis, the black Virgin, the black Madonna, until she reveals herself to the world. So this was what happened, and that's how the black rose became the white rose. And so with that, I believe I will conclude my introduction to the Black Rose Translations reading and updating. And this introduction is free viewing to everyone, but the series itself will be exclusive for portal members, although I may also, when I'm finished with it entirely, put it out for non-members for sale, you know, as something you could purchase. But I'm not even sure I'm going to do that. It's kind of in the wings yet. I really just follow guidance and all of that. So we'll see. But for now, you can listen to this one free viewing, and portal members will have the series of the Black Rose Translations. The actual book itself is also not available anymore for purchase, but and it won't be for the foreseeable future. But those of you that already have it, you know, you can follow along in your text with it. Now, portal members, though, can get it. It is in the portal, by the way. So if you go into the Vault of Thoth, you can get the Black Rose Translations book if you'd like to follow along as I'm reading this series. So thank you all for listening.